In large multicellular organisms, such as humans, various parts of the body need to be able to communicate effectively with each other to ensure that bodily functions are well coordinated and that we are able to respond to changes in our surroundings in an appropriate and timely manner. This internal communication is essential for survival and is achieved primarily through two major organ systems. These are the nervous system, which will be the focus of this explanation, and the endocrine system, which will be explored separately in another context. For a solid understanding of this topic, it is important to be familiar with three key components. First is the structure and function of a nerve cell, which is also called a neuron. Second is the organization of the nervous system as a whole. Third is the way in which a reflex arc operates to produce fast automatic responses. Let us begin with the nerve cell. There are numerous types of neurons found throughout the body, but despite their differences, most of them share a basic structure. Neurons are long, slender cells that are specially adapted to transmit electrical impulses from one location in the body to another. These cells are characterized by their extended length, thin structure, and branching ends, which allow them to connect with many other nerve cells and pass on messages efficiently. You can think of them as biological equivalents of electrical wires conducting small currents from one point to another. For one neuron to successfully send a signal to another neuron, a specialized connection called a synapse is needed. A synapse is the tiny gap between two nerve cells. When an electrical impulse reaches the end of a neuron, it triggers the release of chemical messengers, known as neurotransmitters. These chemicals diffuse across the synapse and attach to receptors on the surface of the next neuron. This causes a new electrical impulse to be generated in the second neuron, which then travels down its length to continue the transmission. At the end of that neuron, the process repeats itself at the next synapse. Now, imagine if you took approximately 100 billion of these interconnected neurons and combined them into a complex network. The result would be the human nervous system. One major part of this system is the central nervous system, often abbreviated as the CNS, which consists of the brain and the spinal cord. This is the main control center of the body. It receives large amounts of information from sensory inputs, processes that information, and decides on the most suitable response. Once a decision is made, the central nervous system sends out instructions to the rest of the body. To gather the necessary information, the CNS relies on sensory neurons. These neurons carry data from receptors located throughout the body to the brain and spinal cord. Receptors might detect a range of internal and external changes, such as increases or decreases in temperature or levels of certain gases like carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. After analyzing this data, the CNS responds by sending signals via motor neurons to effectors. Effectors are organs such as muscles, which may contract, or glands, which might secrete hormones depending on the situation. All these elements work together seamlessly to allow the body to detect internal or external changes, interpret what is happening, and respond efficiently. A particularly interesting part of this process is the reflex arc. A reflex arc is a specific nerve pathway that controls rapid and unconscious responses to potentially dangerous stimuli. For example, you might instinctively withdraw your hand after touching something hot or blink when an object suddenly moves toward your face. Reflexes like these are important because they are very quick and automatic, which helps to minimize injury or harm. To understand how this works, imagine that you accidentally touch the sharp tip of a pin. The pressure and pain caused by the pin act as a stimulus. This stimulus is picked up by receptor cells in your skin. These receptors then activate a sensory neuron, which sends an electrical impulse from your fingertip to your spinal cord. The spinal cord, which is a component of the central nervous system, processes the impulse by transferring it to a relay neuron. Relay neurons serve as intermediaries that link sensory and motor pathways. The relay neuron then passes the impulse to a motor neuron, which carries the message out to an effector, such as your bicep muscle. In response to this signal, the muscle contracts, and you quickly move your hand away from the pin. Importantly, at each point where neurons meet, a synapse is present. At these synapses, the electrical signal is momentarily converted into a chemical form to cross the gap and then converted back into an electrical impulse on the other side, so that the message can continue along the pathway. The entire process happens so rapidly that it protects you from harm before your brain has even fully processed what occurred. This highly organized network of neurons working through sensory input, central processing, and motor output is what makes the human nervous system such an extraordinary and vital system for life.